Okay guys, has it been a crazy time living in Los Angeles? I'm talking to you now from LA where all these fires are taking place in Eaton, Sylmar, the Pacific Palisades. It's been absolutely insane. Thank you all for checking in on me, by the way. I'm doing fine. I'm about 6 miles away from the fires that are taking place in the Palisades, and the worst we're dealing with here is just a lot of smoke and bad air quality in the air right now. It's been an unfortunate time, of course, for everybody who is dealing with this right now in Southern California, in Los Angeles. We're going to show you some footage of the fires themselves. This first video is nuts, okay? It's from a plane that's getting a view of everything that's happening on the ground. Take a look here.
Flying right over that thing. Entire hills are on fire. Holy shit. Oh my God.
I gotta be honest, I didn't know how bad this was actually gonna be. I woke up yesterday and I went outside with my dogs and I was like, whoa, this feels like a pretty windy day. But I'm from Florida where we're dealing with hurricane season and crazy, storm force winds all the time. So I didn't really think that much of it. I forgot to remind myself that I'm living somewhere where when you get winds like this, it's very easily the cause of fires, and all of these reports started popping up, and still I didn't recognize how big of an issue it actually was until I started going on social media and seeing video after video of people posting what they were experiencing, which leads us to our next video. These are, I think, two guys living in the Pacific Palisades in a home that they were trying to protect from the fire. I don't know if they had placed water around this home, if they had some sort of irrigation system that they thought was going to work during this fire, but you will see as walls, literal walls of flames are rising up around them and their house. Just take a look at that. My ass would be the hell out of there before, if I even saw a little flame in the yard, my ass would be gone.
Oh shit.
This doesn't even feel real.
Yeah, don't worry about that, dude. Look at that.
Oh my goodness. And we watched all day as the evacuation areas and the areas for evacuation warnings just expanded and expanded and expanded. And luckily I'm living in a place that doesn't have much vegetation. There's not a lot of greenery around me. So we're not close by any means to that. Although it's just harrowing to watch on these fire maps as they grow and grow and grow. Look at this house. Now, these two guys do eventually end up abandoning this home, and who knows what's happened to it after. I know a few people who have lost homes so far, and of course there's going to be so much more news to come as thousands, tens of thousands of people have been evacuated from their residences, where they're working, where they're living. It's been just insane to watch. And of course, with these winds, the embers and the flames from these fires are just flying out much farther than anybody would expect them to. This is typically not the season for wildfires here in Los Angeles, so this has come as a shock to many. We'll show one more video just to set the scene here so you guys can get the scope of what people are seeing and experiencing. Just look at that. Oh my gosh. Now, I was not able to see any of this from my residence, but my sister, who lives in another part of LA, was able to see flames from her apartment, and you can just see them rising out of the sky. The smoke is insane, just all through the cloud, all through the sky. You can feel it in the air. Just absolutely shocking. And the amount of people that have lost their homes, their livelihoods, and their businesses, their neighborhoods where they hang out, their schools, their parks, their pets, the animals that have been lost through all of this disaster is just so unfortunate. And of course, the question is going to come up, how has Los Angeles handled this? How has leadership in Los Angeles handled this? Could this have been prevented in any way, shape, or form? And if it couldn't have been, happen? Were we prepared to respond to a disaster like this? And it's looking like the answer is no. California at large was not prepared. Los Angeles was not prepared. And it's going to lead to a big discussion. You know, our mayor here in Los Angeles, Karen Bass, was nowhere to be seen when these fires broke out. She was actually in Ghana at an event. And I think she's now, as of the time that we're filming this, which is in the afternoon of today, she has just landed back here in Los Angeles. Now, Karen Bass decided to cut the fire department budget not too long ago. And we'll take a look at this. Boom. $17.6 million. Let's get that in full screen in case you need to see it. It was the second largest business budget cut that she approved. $17.6 million right before all of this ended up happening. And you're going to have to ask yourself, is there a way, you know, she could have known that something like this was going to happen? Were there concerns that something like this was going to happen? And absolutely there was. And it's unfortunate that these things do become political, and we're going to get into politics and start talking about maybe certain politicians that blew the whistle on the fact that something like this could happen, and other politicians that ignored them. But it is very much the case in what's happened here in Los Angeles. And while there's been thousands upon thousands of people affected, I also have to point out the area that's been impacted by these fires. These are some pretty wealthy people, not in all cases, but in several when it comes to these fires, who have lost their livelihoods and lost their homes. And if you think there's not going to be people at your door, Karen Bass, letting you know that you've done something wrong here, I don't know what to tell you. She's getting ratioed to hell online right now. She posted this on X, said, the impact of these fires and winds are devastating. I just got off the phone with the President of the United States and discussed an urgent path forward towards recovery for thousands of families impacted. Thank you, California Governor and Senator Alex Padilla, for your continued support of our city. With a little video here of her working with CAL FIRE, which everybody's doing their little photo op shoot that they do whenever these disasters happen. And I guess it's just par for the course when it comes to these things. But as I said, she's getting ratioed. The responses are interesting, to say the least. Somebody says recall vote incoming. How do you not have water in your fire hydrants? Which we're going to explain in a second. The frog of shame meme under this. Welcome back. How was Africa? People are asking her. You cut funding to the fire department by nearly $20 million and wasted taxpayer dollars traveling to Africa while your city burned. You should be recalled. And lastly, Bert says, nice of you to join us, Mayor. It's so interesting that, like, when these things happen, the people who are supposed to be in charge, who are supposed to be having a handle on the city, just happen to be somewhere else, and they're using your money to be somewhere else. And when you directly ask them, hey, can you use the money that I'm giving you, this city, this state, this government to take care of me, to actually take care of me? They go, sure, you know, we'll start moving in that direction. And they'll move in the slowest pace you've ever seen while 100-mile-per-hour winds are setting your city on fire. And we still don't know the exact source of these fires. It's going to be interesting to find out. I guess we'll wait around to see if we ever find an answer. There's many people speculating as to how these things happen, but we know that the winds that were taking place as these fires began were in no way a help to getting them stopped by any means. Now, speaking of California voters overwhelmingly voted, as you'll see here, to bring back the billions of dollars that are used for this sort of like water fund, water bond, as they'll call it. And this was in 2014. Californians overwhelmingly voted to spend billions on water storage and reservoirs for a moment like this exactly. Now, Governor Gavin Newsom still has not built those. This was 2014, 11 years ago now. And now no water is coming out of the fire hydrants. And here's this out of LA Times. Have no Prop 1 water projects been built in California? The answer is no, but they are moving slowly. They're moving slowly, guys. We're gonna get some things done here, apparently. Now, speaking of no water being in these fire hydrants, in these reservoirs that could have very well been used to put out these fires, here's a clip from Fox 11 News of Rick Caruso, who you'll remember was in the running for leadership here in Los Angeles. Didn't end up winning there. Him talking about the lack of water.
It goes out obviously to the people with their homes, and I'm watching the small businesses around us go up in flames. This is people's livelihoods, so it's devastating. But what is most concerning to me is our first responders and our firefighters who are trying to battle this. There's no water in the Palisades. There's no water coming out of the fire hydrants. This is an absolute mismanagement by the city. It's not the firefighters' fault, but it's by the city. And I'm going to be very honest. We've got a mayor that's out of the country, and we've got a city that's burning, and there's no resources to put out fires. So if you look at your pictures, you don't see the firefighters there because there's nothing they can do. And it looks like we're in a third world country here. Mm-hmm. And we've got a lot of tough questions that we need to ask the mayor and the city council and our representatives and the county representatives. Why didn't you work to mitigate this? What was your brush mitigation program? I heard you earlier talking about it's been dry because there hasn't been rain. That's not the biggest problem here. The brush up in these hills that are controlled by the city and the county, I would bet you that if they haven't been handled, mitigated, pruned, removed for probably 30 or 40 years. This was a disaster waiting to happen. And what's predictable is preventable. And who's paying the price are all of these people in their homes and their businesses tonight.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right about that. The people end up paying the price for these like bureaucrats and city managers and administrators and leaders who end up doing absolutely nothing when their constituents are telling them exactly what needs to be done. And where Rick Caruso is talking about this as a businessman, a real estate developer who spent a lot of time here in Los Angeles, built many a business here in Los Angeles, he's seeing how the city is working and commenting on the lack of leadership and the lack of follow through on what is being asked for of these leaders. And he's not the only one. You guys can actually go and search up a clip of Donald J. Trump on Joe Rogan, and he's talking to Joe Rogan about California, about having visited, and about seeing the brush and this like dry foliage that Rick Caruso is referencing when he's on the news and saying somebody needs to come through and deal with it. Not only that, he expands to talk about the water issue here in Los Angeles, here in California, and to talk about how we need to fill our reservoirs and how we had deals working with other geographic locations in Canada to get water here to California so that we could deal with issues like this. Now, Donald J. Trump, of course, has hopped on Truth Social and made a statement about this. It's been shared by Elon Musk on X. We'll pull that up and read that for you now. Donald J. Trump says Governor Gavin Newsom, as he loves his nicknames for people, refused to sign the water restoration declaration put before him that would have allowed millions of gallons of water of excess rain and snow melt from the north to flow daily into many parts of California, including the areas that are currently burning in a virtually apocalyptic way. He wanted to protect an essentially worthless fish called a smelt by giving it less water. It didn't work, but didn't care about the people of California. Now the ultimate price is being paid. I will demand that this incompetent governor allow beautiful, clean, fresh water to flow into California. He is to blame for this on top of it all. No water for fire hydrants, not firefighting planes, a true disaster. And a large part of the reason that planes couldn't get in there as well is because of the airspace and these like strong, forceful winds that were flying through the area. So this was just a wicked cocktail for the worst possible outcome for the people who are living in the areas affected by these fires that are continuing to grow. And now it seems that the winds are dying down, but our fire departments and our firefighters are still struggling to get a hold and get control of these fires. And now we're going to shift our conversation to something that pops up when things go wrong and has been popping up in terms of natural disasters here in this country for quite some time, and it is DEI. And I want to go ahead and put out a disclaimer. This is in no way, shape, or form me blaming firefighters and the men and women who are actively out there trying to do their jobs right now. They are saving lives. They are protecting people's property. They are trying to stop this wildfire from spreading any further. These are very valiant, brave men and women who are doing their jobs, and I hope doing their jobs correctly. But LA County, the LA Fire Department, they've all been moving in the direction of DEI, and they have been for quite some time, and they've been doing it very boldly. And we watched this in the hurricanes disasters that hit the southeast of the United States as FEMA and other operations were working on the ground. They emphasized DEI, not only within their organization and in how it was run, but in their treatment of people and who they helped. Now, I'm not making the same claim about LA County and the LA County firefighters, but I do want you to watch a video about their diversity, equity, and inclusion practices. Let's run it.
We are hosting our new employee orientation, and our focus is to teach our new employees for them to understand cultural competency, identify implicit and unconscious bias, and be aware of the importance of us having a diverse and inclusive workforce.
Diversity is important because the different people bring different lenses to their job, and those different ideas, those different lenses are important to have the best practices for our industry.
We have people here from hazmat, we have dispatchers in the room, we have people that are responsible for financial management, we have our information management division, and also from human resources. So we have a variety of professionals that are receiving this training.
We teach people how to deal with conflict responsively, how to have challenging conversations, break down stereotypes, and learn more about cultural competence.
Okay, pause there. Now, I know that the firefighting job is sort of an all-encompassing job. It's not just dealing with wildfires like what we're seeing right now in California. And there will be moments that you have cultural conflicts and you need to have uncomfortable conversations. But do we really need to spend this amount of time on diversity, equity, and inclusion? And what else could we have been doing with this time and with these resources that maybe could have been a little bit preventative with what we're dealing with right now? Could we have been clearing up some of that brush, some of that dry foliage that has led to the wildfire that we're experiencing right now? Could we have been doing, I don't know, controlled fires? I don't know the ins and outs of running a fire department. I don't know the ins and outs of how people prevent these things. I'm just giving my suggestions, and hopefully those of you with experience and those of you who know something about these subjects can fill me in down below and let me know if there's a better place to be funneling the time and resources that we're going into DEI bureaucracy. That's what I would like to know. Now, here's another news clip out of ABC 7, where the LA Fire Department's first LGBTQ chief is brought about, and she decides she's also going to be pushing diversity, equity, and inclusion to the forefront.
Los Angeles Fire Department is launching its first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau. It is dedicated to ensuring a fair and equal workplace environment.
Eyewitness News reporter Christian Cordero is live in North Hollywood with more on what it entails and why it's necessary. Christian?
Ellen, Colleen, the discrepancies are stark, even just on paper. The LAFD this year hired its first ever female chief, and it says so far this year, 8% of its applicants have been women. That might sound like a small number, but it's actually twice the percentage of female firefighters currently in the department. Every day, the LAFD is called upon to respond to crises, and today it is taking a step to resolve one of its own. The department's first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau will launch in January, 1 year since its first ever female fire chief, Kristen Crowley, was appointed.
So by creating this new bureau, our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau, now we actually have the staff to do the work when it comes to doing a deep dive in regard to how we do business, how we take care of one another in the fire stations and in our work environment.
The plan is to do so by adding training and enforcing accountability. Calls for accountability have echoed for years. In 2021, women's advocacy groups, including one representing female firefighters, pushed for changes at the highest level, saying a system within the department exposes them to abuse, bullying, and a culture of intimidation and retaliation.
Okay. Who's going to be held accountable for this? Who's going to be held accountable for all the different points in which you could have been doing something and you weren't doing something? Who's going to be held accountable for the lack of water in reservoirs? Who's going to be held accountable for the waste on DEI trainings? And a lot of people are going to jump to the conclusion, well, this must be a problem with female firefighters then, or having a female fire chief. No. Don't get it twisted. It is not that at all. The issue is with the agenda. The issue is with where your time and resources are being spent. And the issue is with saying that there's never enough diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is what this specific fire chief had to say in this next clip. I kid you not, guys. I kid you not.
I'm super inspired.
She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I say, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
Out of 3,300 city firefighters, only 115 are women right now. She's already looking at ways to change that. She's quick to point out that doing so has a greater purpose, attracting the best and brightest for the job.
They feel included, they feel valued, and they feel part of a cohesive team.
The chief also checks another box when it comes to inclusivity and diversity at this department. She's a proud member of the LGBTQ community.
That just kind of opens the door of people that thought, wow, I didn't even know that was an opportunity for me. I'm super...
Y'all, this is making my eye twitch. I don't know what else to say. You're doing a 3-year strategic plan about how to increase diversity, but not a 3-year strategic plan about how to decrease wildfires. Or maybe if you are doing the second plan that I just referenced, maybe we lead with that. Maybe we don't lead with the diversity, equity, inclusion. And I don't want to be laughing and giggling because this is not something to laugh and giggle about. This is literally people losing their lives. Luckily, in this case, I think as of the reports I've seen this morning, only 2 people have lost their lives in these wildfires because of the handling and because of our ability to evacuate people, and very quickly so. But they're losing their cars as they're being left on the street as they're evacuating. They're losing their homes. They're losing their businesses, their communities, their parks, their schools. It's just immense, the damage that's been done here. And I can't imagine what it's like to watch everything that you've ever known be set aflame, be set alight like this. Not to mention, okay, so we have multiple things here. The failure to have water, where firefighters are showing up and literally they don't have water in the fire hydrants. And the fact that you could have solved this but chose not to, I don't know, because of what, political gameplay of some sort. The budget cuts from Karen Bass, the fact that she wasn't even here when all of this was going down. You have the diversity, equity, and inclusion that they've pushed forward to pander to, I don't know, women and people of color and LGBTQ plus people. But you also have what happened during COVID-19, which was the firing, termination, suspension, whatever you want to call it, of hundreds of Los Angeles firefighters. Why? Because they refused to get the jab. They refused the medical treatment that was being forced on them. And interestingly enough, this clip is now circulating online. And I was here. I was at this event where firefighters were protesting. In fact, I sang the national anthem at this event. So I saw this poster and I was like, wait a damn minute. I was here when this was happening in LA, and firefighters were coming forward and giving their testimony as to being fired from their jobs over the vaccine mandate.
After the worst time of COVID, after the largest, most deadly spike, downtrends in death, my employer, a governing body, is deciding to mandate a rushed vaccine. Not only that it will be mandate, but it's a condition of my employment. We've gone from essential frontline worker to next on the chopping block. I agree. Such times of uncertainty really force me to think and examine my surroundings. The job that I love, the job that I poured my heart and soul into is being threatened. Anything that gets put into my body is my choice. I refuse. Do not comply. I've thought long and hard about this, and this has become my definitive line in the sand. And I know when I say this, I'm not alone. There are many more that feel this way, and they just might be scared or not know how to say it. Please understand this is worth fighting for. I won't quit. I will not stop fighting. I'm willing to sacrifice everything. My beliefs, my moral fiber, my family, my livelihood, the country that I love, everything I've ever worked for in my life is being threatened. And that I will not sit idly by and take. I refuse.
There you go. I mean, we all saw that happen with our own eyes. So it's just like, oh my gosh, thing after thing after thing. It's like, okay, in these times of devastation and people going through hardship, you want to come together as a community. You want to do the work. You want to help these people rebuild. And I fully intend to do so as somebody who's living in Los Angeles right now and watching all of this happen on the periphery. But my goodness, if accountability does not exist on the other end of this, I don't know what to tell people. How much more of a list do you need of evidence as to how something like this takes place and how it becomes mismanaged? And it's not mismanaged by the brave people on the ground who are helping their fellow citizens, the firefighters who are just deployed to fight these at a moment's notice as they pop up. And at a time where they aren't expecting it whatsoever. When I tell you this is not the time of year for this, and we have not seen something like this with the conditions to set it forth like this in quite some time, it is truly unbelievable. It is not the fault of those people who are responding to this and wanting to do something better for their community, for humanity. It is the fault of those who just put together the different links that lead to a catastrophic event like this taking place. And if we're calling for accountability in the sense of diversity, equity, inclusion, we damn well better call for accountability when it comes to something like this. And it requires us looking at leadership. It requires us looking at the agenda that informs their leadership and that they're pushing forward once they do become leaders. And we need to rewrite that a little bit. And if we see people who are responsible for the agenda that led to a tragedy like this, although I'm not placing full blame on them, I'm just saying we could have done a little bit better. Maybe we need to move those people out and make a change. And, we've tried in California time after time, I think, to have little shifts and change in leadership to no avail. But it looks like this is a massive wake-up call to maybe try again. And my goodness, for people who are experiencing loss in this time, loss of their houses, communities, God forbid, family members, pets, animals, just craziness. My heart goes out to you. And hopefully, in the wake of all this, we'll come together, rebuild once again, make Los Angeles into the city that it should be, and safeguard ourselves from another catastrophe like this. Guys, those are my thoughts. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know where you are right now, where you're seeing this news, what you think about it. If you are a firefighter of some sort, you have any experience in these sorts of disasters, let me know your thoughts on this. What could have been done differently? What they're doing now that's good and getting things done. Let me know. If you disagree with anything I said in this video, of course we encourage healthy debate on this channel, so duke it out, but do so respectfully. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, share, whatever it is that you want to do. Yeah, thoughts of the people who are dealing with this. And with that, guys, I will see you tomorrow.